this is going to be awesome. I do want to remind you that if you want to find out anything more that we don't get to cover here in the next 25 minutes about RaceFan, you can go to their page at EPARTRADE.com and connect with them directly. If you have a question during this session, please just type it into the chat and we will get your question asked. But I think there's going to be a lot of really neat things that people are going to be learning about here today. Joining us, the president of RaceFan, Ken Anderson. And Ken, I hope you're doing well here on this Friday afternoon. Thank you so much for being a part of Online Race Industry Week.
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Well, let's talk about, oh, I'm sorry, go. Well, I would say, let's talk about RaceFan. I was on the website spending some time earlier and am just amazed at the product that you have and the product that you offer that is very versatile, I guess, if you will. Yeah,
it's, this may be a long 30 minutes because it's just a fan, but it's, yeah, I mean, it all started with, you know, the steel GM, you know, this thing originally came out of a 67 Chevy van, I believe. And the world supply started drying up. And a friend of mine, Harold Holly, wanted to know if I could make one because he was having a hard time finding it. I said, well, I could make a fan, but I wouldn't make that one. So you know, I've done a lot of other stuff in my career. So I got designed together and wanted to make it modular and wanted to make it something a dealer could sell with the minimum of parts, have the maximum amount of stuff. So you basically have a center hub, blade, and hardware. And you just, there's 3 different size blades and you can build 2, 3, 4, or 6 blade fans and 3 different diameters, 3 different blades. And it works. The chart on the wall, I don't know if you can see it, but the black stripe just about the middle is the standard GM fan. So we have 3 variations that are cool. In fact, the 6 blade up top there is 67% more airflow than the GM fan. So people that were coming in, you know, boiling over 230, 240, put a 6 blade fan on, knock it down to about 205, 210.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. I know you say it's just a fan, but again, just the innovation in this, that all of those fans are the same with just, you know, the difference being the amount of blades that are in them. And I mean, with so many different applications, because if you think about this too, if I'm racing, maybe I don't need 6 blades on my fan today, you know, maybe today.
Well, good point. Because I mean, I've got guys that'll run, you know, 6 blades in the summer, but they'll run, you know, when it's 100 degrees, but we'll run 2 blades, 3 blades in Florida in the winter series, you know, so you can fine tune it. If you break a blade, you just replace the blade, you have to replace the whole fan. And the other nice thing is if you do hit something and break a blade, if it's hard enough to break one of these blades, it would have bent the steel fan and that rips everything else out with it, you know. Yeah.
What are, I mean, is this just, I hate to use the term simple, but I'm going to. I mean, what are the blades made of? I want to say, is this a simple plastic?
It's high strength, very high strength, high temperature Zytel. That's a nylon 66. Very, very strong.
And when you say you've got 3 different sizes of blades, give an idea on some applications and really what some racers should need to know, because again, it's one thing to think about the cooling when the fan is on. You know, it's another thing to also think about maybe some inefficiencies that could be there when the fan is not on, and maybe you want to have less blades because now you're going to get better airflow without the fan. Maybe you want to have more blades because you need better airflow with the fan.
Right. I mean, mostly, they're mostly running dirt late models and stuff, but a lot of people, they'll bolt on the front any water pump, you know, with a mechanical fan, and starting to sell a lot for hot rods and things. They really like them. Yeah, these are the 3 different length blades. They're 1 inch. Each one's 1 inch longer than the other, so it gives you 15, 17, or 19-inch diameter.
Okay. As far as you know, you say the bolt on in the front of any water pump. You know, I'm assuming, you know, if they need to be shrouded or anything like that. I mean, all of that is just pretty standard. Essentially, what you have is sort of a better mousetrap.
Yeah, it just works. And if you look at what was the GM fan, it's pretty much just stamped steel, doesn't have a whole lot of shape. you know, we've got a lot more curvature and, yeah, it grabs a lot more air basically.
Yeah, is you know, our advantages if I'm running less blades is that I'm trying to think of the right way to ask this question. I mean, is there any, you know, anything you have to worry about putting more strain on the engine by running more blades versus less blades?
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, in fact, our 6-blade fan weighs half of what the 4-blade steel fan weighs. And the beauty of that even is most of our weight is in the hub here.
Mm-hmm.
Blade fan, the weight's all the way out to the tip. So one of the biggest things racers notice is much better throttle response. And especially like the crate guys love them because the 2-blade fan is like nothing there. So light.
As far as moving air, you mentioned how much you're moving with the 6-blade. What's the difference between if I'm running 6 or 2 or 3 or 4?
Well, it comes down to, I mean, on any given size, 3 is more than 2, 4 is more than 3, and 6 is more than 4. But if you go to our website, we've got that chart up there and different configurations. Like a 6-blade 15-inch doesn't move as much as a 4-blade 17-inch or whatever. So yeah, it's diameter's got a lot to do with it as well. The bigger the diameter, the more blades, the more you're gonna run. So obviously the one that runs pushes the most air is the 6-blade 19, and the least amounts the 2-blade 15-inch. So
how do I know? You know, how do I know what I need? I mean, you talk about 3 different lengths of fans, and they're all an inch different. You know, or the amount of blades that I have. Is this something where I could call up to RACEFAN and say, hey, I'm racing down in South Texas in summer, you know, evening temperatures are in the mid to upper 90s, you know, I mean, is this, you know, can you give me a pretty good idea of where I need to be?
Yeah, pretty much based on what you're running now, because there's so many variations of whether it's shrouded or the single pass radiator, double pass radiator. There's no 2 out there the same pretty much. But if you tell me you're running a 4-blade 17-inch GM fan, you know, going to our 4-blade 17-inch fans can be a little bit better. And if you need more cooling, 6-blades a lot better.
What comes in a kit? Like, I mean, do I buy like a 6-blade kit, or how do I purchase this? How does a racer go about?
If you just online, you can order a whole fan and we'll build them up for you. But what most dealers do, and all our dealers and distributors buy parts. So if you go into a store, you'd buy a hub, whatever blades you wanted, and the bolt kits for each blade. And these are real, you know, aircraft NAS bolts, high strength bolts, really nice, jet nuts, stay together really well.
Pretty easy to change out, I would assume. I mean, it looks,
Yeah.
Like I said, it looks fairly simple. What's great about this is something that seems to just be an amazing product that is such a simple product too, and a great solution.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's good.
So
everybody seems to like them, so that's good.
When you were designing this, kind of give us an idea of some of the thought process or the evolution, if you will. You know, was there a little bit of trial and error? Or, you know, is this version 10? Is this kind of the way it came out of the idea first?
Yeah, there are several iterations, and it started off as a kind of a one-piece fan, but then we looked at, you know, being able to change the blades and having, yeah, I didn't want to make a 4-blade fan and a 6-blade fan, you know, to where they were different bits, because then a dealer's got to inventory all those different ones. And we hit on this modular approach, and it's worked out very well.
What kind of vehicles can use the fan? Is there any kind that can't? I mean, I know you mentioned you're in the dirt late models, modifieds, and all of that stuff, but where else?
I mean, anything that's got a mechanical fan that fits the hub, you know, that it's got 2 different bolt patterns in the center for the 2 different bolt patterns that are in most cars. But
you run into people that are running these just on their street car?
Oh yeah. Like I say, hot rod guys, you know, resto mods and stuff, starting to sell a lot to those.
You mentioned the blade material. Let's say I want my hot rod or my resto mod, but I want something nice and shiny and flashy and, you know, and all of that. I want it to work good, but I want it to look good as well. Are there any other options, or are there things that people are doing to your current setup that give them that?
Not really. The blade, this is a natural color of the Zytel. And we did make some hubs and didn't anodize them, so they're shiny. But people like the black and the logos and all that stuff on it, so it hasn't been a problem. We can
All
run the whole thing if that's what you're asking.
I got you. We have a question from the chat, and if you have a question, just feel free to type it into the chat, and we can help you out with anything you need to know from RaceFan. And again, if you want to connect directly, you can go to EPARTRADE.com and go to RaceFan's page, and you can connect directly right there. And let's Ken, let's get one here from Joseph Warrer. It says, do these fans pull air through them or actually push air through them? Is a benefit to both push and pull flow?
No, they typically pull air. They're backside of the radiator and it pulls air through it. So yeah, just like normal ones do.
Okay.
I mean, there's no benefit other than if you're going to push air through a radiator, it'd have to be in front of it. So that'd be pretty.
I got you. Let's say I like the idea, but I sort of have a custom need for whatever it might be. Is there anything that you can do to service a customer in that way? You know, or these things that, hey, these are the molds and this is the way it is. How can you work with something like that?
It hasn't really come up. You know, the thing is, the basic fan's been around so long, people have designed around that. This is just kind of a better version of that. If somebody called and said, I needed something for my Ferrari, you know, that this doesn't fit, you know, we talk. But yeah, it really, for mechanical, bolted on your water pump fans, pretty much covers it all.
Yeah, no, I like it.
I did was they started off with a 19-inch fan because the molds are quite expensive to make, as you can imagine. We started with a 19-inch and so I said, I really need a 17-inch. I go, how many you want to buy? 2. Well, you know, so we made 17s and they sold really well. And then of course somebody wanted a 15-inch fan. Well, how many you want to buy? 2. Yeah, so we made some and started selling them. But yeah, it's mostly 17s and 19s are biggest sellers.
Okay, that makes sense. As far as cool, guys. I'm sorry?
The 15s are pretty popular with hot rod guys for some reason.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. As far as cooling better, say, than the GM Steel fan. I mean, you pulled one up out of a van earlier here today, or other fans in the market. Is there anything about the design itself? I mean, obviously the weight and the rotating and all of that stuff, but is there anything about the design of the blades or anything that really help cool better?
Just that they have shape and they don't. The metal fans actually fatigue after a while. There's a lot of guys will change the metal fan a couple times during a. Some of these dirt guys are running 100 races a year. So, you know, they'll change them out after so many races. These don't.
Wow. Hey, I mean, is this something that we're talking multiple seasons, well beyond that? Or is there any recommendations like, hey, if you've run 300 races, maybe you want to change the blades or something?
You know, there's guys that they've told me they've been running the same fan for 2 seasons. There's guys, you know, change them out every year just to be safe, change the blades out. And then obviously replace broken ones if they break during the season. It's a little more expensive than what your steel fans are, but overall it's cheaper once you got your hub and your bolts. That's the most expensive part of it.
So when it comes to getting this out there and getting this on the track, like I said, I just find this is just a wonderfully innovative product, and it almost looks like one of those that you think about and you say, why didn't someone do this? You know, I mean, this, you know, this is exactly what it is. But heading out to the track, getting real feedback from racers, getting it on cars, getting people to notice it. How have you grown the business, Ken?
Well, I started off with working with Harold Holly and Joey Coulter, and they were having problems schooling, you know, and we actually instrumented the car for a number of reasons. But we had, you know, sensors going in and out of the radiator, and it, sure enough, it was running 235, 240, boiling over, coming in. And I wouldn't believe it, but we put a 6-blade fan on and it knocked it down to 210, 215. That's a big number. And, you know, once word got out, people started using them, and it's just been a great product. Started the year before last. Last year was really good, building a business, and then this year started off really good, and then we all know what happened in March, April, and we had a little slowed way down. Nobody knows whether they're going to be racing or not this year, but it's come right back almost to where it was last year. So.
And when it comes to RACEFAN, is this all direct sale, or do you also sell through
Oh
distributors?
no, I have lots of distributors. Yeah, distributors, dealers, engine builders. Got a lot of engine builders starting to run them there. You know, you got a $40,000 engine, don't scrimp on the friggin' fan. You know. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that is very true. When it comes to this center hub design, people are always wanting to tinker with something. You know, let's just say I know I'm only going to run 3 blades, and I don't know why, but maybe I think I've got a better idea than you had, Ken, and I wanted to try and lighten it or do something else with it. As far as trying to customize your design, what are some pitfalls that maybe people might run into?
Well, the thing is, I mean, the hub, you can run any number of blades on this hub. As soon as you start cutting out holes and stuff, then you're stuck to that. If you want to cut out half the holes and make it a 3-blade fan, it's always going to be a 3-blade fan. So yeah, it hasn't really come up. People seem pretty happy with them.
Yeah, I could see that too. We have another question from the chat. And again, if you have a question, just feel free to type it in. Carrie DeLeon says, if I want to use the 6-blade to cool my Corvette more efficiently during Florida track days, can I custom paint the blade for car shows too? And this talks about where it comes to customizing. I mean, is this something where you could just rough up the surface and, you know, find the right kind of paint to dress it up really good?
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason you could. It's never come. Racers aren't so. Well, I take that back. One very famous dirt late model guy didn't want anybody to know he was running it, so he painted it black. So yes, paint will stand.
Okay, and that was my next question, because then I'm thinking, like, you know, this is a modular design. So if you wanted to have your track day fan blades, and then you wanted to have your car show fan blades, it's really not that much to swap it out, and then you don't have to worry about any debris or anything else like that messing up your car show fan blades.
Or even better, you could buy 2 fans.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Me.
Then you unbolt one thing instead of unbolting a bunch of different blades. But that makes sense. Air flows through the different sizes of blades. You know, you talk about 19 versus 17 versus 15. I get more blades, but how about length of blades? How much of a difference does that make? Or is it just covering a bigger surface area?
The longer the blades, you know, the more it moves. So like the top 3, it goes to the most air is a 6-blade 19-inch, then a 4-blade 19-inch, then a 6-blade 17-inch. Then a 3-blade 19-inch. So, you know, there's a lot overlaps, you know. So, depending on the diameter of blades.
It's almost like figuring out gears.
Yeah, well, that's why we made the nice little graph and put it on our website. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Have you ever considered any other applications? And I think of someone who might, you know, especially if your blades maybe could move air better. Maybe I've got a porta-cool in my shop or something like that, and I might want to customize it. You know, you ever considered something like that?
Yeah, I'll at some point I want to make myself a ceiling fan with one. But yeah, we're wide open. You know, it can be adapted to a lot of stuff. It's, you know, the hubs are machined out of billet. So in fact, I've got a project with a manufacturer that we talked to, and we actually came up with a bigger hub, and I think it's 12 or 18 blades, you know, but it took a much bigger hub to get it around. But it's a military vehicle that needed some serious cooling. So.
Oh, wow. That is pretty interesting, though. And again, I know from a business standpoint, it seems pretty simple. And again, if you're just moving air and you're doing it in a very efficient way, and you're doing it in a very lightweight way, you know, why would you want to change things? But realistically, your customer base and your audience, it's not like there's no need for trickery, I guess, in what you have, right?
Exactly. I mean, it works. don't mess with it. Just fine tune the number of blades and get the right diameter, a little shroud maybe. Yeah.
When it comes to learning a little bit more about this, and I know people can connect directly with you through EPARTRADE, but you bring up that graph. What am I going to learn with that graph? I know you hold it up, but if someone's not looking at it, specifically right now, is this literally directly going to help me with what I think my application is going to be, or am I going to need to do some trial and error, do you think?
It's very helpful in that I think pretty much everybody, the standard steel GM fan was the baseline or what everybody ran for so long that, you got kind of an instinctive feeling. If that worked, you're fine. Don't go too far from that. If it wasn't cooling enough, you need to go a lot more. Some of the crate motors, that was actually overkill. So they wanted less, and they want, they'll go down to a 2 or 3 blade fan and take the horsepower loss away and increase the throttle response because it's so light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. I truly do, Ken. I mean, I love the product. When I was looking at this, again, it's something I thought to myself that this is such a no-brainer that I don't see why this just wouldn't be what someone would want to have on their race car, period, especially if they're out there, running late models and modifieds and all of that, because it just seems like a simple solution to maybe even a problem that they didn't know they had, and not necessarily a problem, but just a better way than what they realized.
No, it's never been a problem with them. So yeah, I agree. I think everybody should run them.
And again, the durability you talked about, maybe you break a fan blade or something like that. Is that a concern at all? I mean, how often is that something that you see? Because, people think of a steel blade as something that they could bend back, but a broken blade, of course, if I had a broken blade and was running like 6 blades, then I could just go down to 4 or 3 and I'm still probably okay for the night, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, if you break one of these blades while you're racing, it would have bent the steel one and you'd have been out. Like this will break off and you keep going. So
I got you.
And we sold thousands and thousands of them. It's just been no problem. One guy said, "Oh, it broke on its own," and sent it in. It looked like he plowed a field with it. Yes. Okay. So I sent him another.
Broke on its own when I stuck a wrench in there. Here's a question from the chat. Jack Parker wants to know, with the blades being made out of a plastic material, you said a nylon material, do you have a problem with flex or straightening out like a flex fan and not moving air, especially at higher RPM, like 8,000? Is there a max RPM for this fan?
Everything moves. Steel, everything. It is a very stiff plastic. This is it's a Zytel 30,000 psi plastic, which is it's glass filled and all that. We've done a lot with it. You see it with the shape to make it as stiff as possible. So it, like I say, everything does move. Hard to measure something how much it would at 8,000 RPM. They've been way over 8,000. Most people run a step down a little bit, but miss shifts and stuff like that. They've been over 8,000, no problem.
Yeah, and like you said, if you've sold tens of thousands of these fans and not really, I mean, by now you would know if there was something inherent in the design of the materials that would be an issue, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, well, I just simply love it. I think this is a wonderful thing, and would definitely, recommend someone going to epartrade.com and connecting with you directly at RACEFAN. And, Ken, I know at the beginning you said, I don't know what we're going to talk about for 30 minutes, but I think we found plenty, but I think a lot of that's just due to my fascination for your product. I think this is
I appreciate it. And I'm impressed. You did a great job.
Yeah. No, thank you. And thank you for being
enjoy it. It's a great platform. It's been a big help to our business.
Registering on EPARTRADE is easy. Fill out your name, email, phone number, and create a secure password. Next, select your business type. Choose supplier if you're looking to display products or services and connect with buyers. Choose racing business if you're looking to find new parts and connect with suppliers. Choose race team if you own or are a member of a professional racing team. Begin typing your company name. We most likely already have your company in our database, which you can select from the drop-down. Then, enter your job title. Choose Claim Company if you'll be editing your company profile. Other members of your company can choose Join Company if they'd like to use EPARTRADE as well. You can view and agree to our terms of use here. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletter, choose Accept. Click Register Now, and your registration will be submitted for approval. You'll need to confirm your email once it goes through. To keep our platform industry only, you'll be approved shortly after. If we require additional proof of business, we'll reach out. Welcome to EPARTRADE.